The Mafia boss's wife made me sleep on the floor, then paid me $3 million to be their surrogate. Now I'm pregnant with twins and sleep in her bed. The laundry room floor is colder than the marble, which feels like an insult and a mercy. The dryer thumps like a heartbeat. I tuck my knees to my chest and layer my threadbare blanket over the ache. The penthouse is high enough to toy with the clouds, a glass palace with a view that makes people forget the cost of being looked down on. The city shrieks, but in here it's hushed and polished and cruel. "Don't get ideas," Vivian had said, stilettos clacking as if the tiles bowed for her. "You're the help, Arya, not human. The guest suites stay pristine for guests. You sleep where you belong." Where I belong is a space barely wider than a coffin, where detergent bites my throat, and the dryer heat swells too late to save the shiver. I count the seconds between cycles. I name them for the people I can't fail. Mama, rent, tuition debt. Tomorrow, the dryer stops. Silence steals the one warmth I can borrow. I curl. I breathe through the ache, and the door opens. Light slices in. A colder air follows. Male, expensive, dangerous. The scent is subtle. Sandalwood, clean steel, a winter coat catching the kiss of night. He fills the doorway like the building is balanced on his shoulders, and he's bored of the weight. Dante Castellano. Husband. Shadow. Myth. In person, he looks like the rumors tried to carve him and failed. Hair black as a secret. Eyes darker. A mouth made to promise and deny in the same breath. 36 years old, and his suit wears him like armor does a knight who remembers war too intimately to romanticize it. He doesn't speak at first. He just looks at me on the floor where his wife put me. Something shifts under his stillness. A slow-motion earthquake you only recognize by the clink of a glass an inch to the right. My throat burns with humiliation that tastes like copper. I scramble to stand. The blanket slips and shows the raw red mark the broom handle left. Vivian made me scrub the foyer on my knees. "Don't you dare," she'd warned, when I paused to stretch my spine. "You're not paid to whine." "Stay," he says, low. 2 letters. A command, a mercy. My body obeys even if my pride claws. His gaze tracks the yellowed pillow, the cracked phone by my elbow, the list I tucked under it. Numbers circled so hard the pen tore the page. Treatment estimate. Oncologist's name. Mama's calendar of chemo cycles. Every week is a red X until the ones without numbers loom, blank as open graves. 400,000. It might as well be the sky. He lifts his eyes to mine. "Who told you to sleep here?" "My assignment is the penthouse," I say. I don't add. "And the woman you married thinks cruelty is a mood board." His jaw flexes once. "Who?" "Mrs. Castellano," I whisper. The tightness in him cuts into precision. "Your name, Arya Morelli." A beat passes. The city hums. His stare could pin a map to a wall. "The maid sleeps in a proper room," he says finally, each word placed. Expensive. Law. "Today." The next morning, Vivian's smile is sugared arsenic. "Of course, amore." Her fingers brush his lapel in a caress that looks like ownership and feels like a warning. "I was simply giving her space." "That's a laundry room," he replies. Flat. She hums, as though laundry were a lifestyle choice and not punishment. When he leaves, she turns that smile on me. "Breakfast?" she chirps. "Eat in the service corridor. Out of sight." I finish polishing the stemware she uses for her charity mask, and she hands me a fresh list. The handwriting is knife precise. Scrub the foyer marble on hands and knees. The grout with a toothbrush. Steam and press his shirts twice. Make the guest rooms perfect. Don't touch the bed in the East Suite. She circles the last line. Do not eat until the list is done. "You think he cares?" she says. "You're an appliance. Appliances don't need lunch." I nod, because I learned years ago that nodding saves time, and time saves money, and money buys one more week for the person whose laugh used to reset my heartbeat. I kneel, the stone leaches warmth from my bones. The toothbrush bites the grout until my fingers cramp. When I stand, the world tilts. White stars roil. The air bites cold into a body already stripped. That night, the penthouse hums with expensive people applauding each other for caring in gowns that cost 3 rents. I move among them in black that renders me invisible. I refill flutes. I catch flutters of conversation like torn feathers. Vivienne is perfect, the way an ice storm is perfect when it coats the city and brings down wires. When it's finally over and silence drops like a curtain, I return to the room Dante ordered for me. It's the smallest guest room, but the sheets are real cotton and the mattress remembers me. I don't know whether to cry or sleep. I choose both, one into the other. Morning crawls up the windows. The list is waiting on my door like a snake. Scrub, press, polish, starve, smile. Midway through the week, she calls me into her study. The air smells like the inside of a jewelry box. The desk is glass and chrome, the better to display the gleam of wealth and the precision of neglect. Sit, she orders. I remain standing. Her mouth curves. I have a proposition, she says. The word tastes like a trap before she finishes speaking. My husband wants children. He deserves them. Unfortunately, I cannot carry due to a medical condition. Her eyes glitter with a lie she's told often enough to enjoy. She is the kind of woman who would file down her teeth rather than be seen with a bite mark. I'll pay you $3 million, she continues, flipping a folder open with a manicured nail. The contract is thick, cruel, legal. To be our surrogate, IVF at my clinic. Everything clinical, professional, 9 months. Then you disappear with enough money to change your life. She smiles like we're two women having a civilized conversation, and not a queen offering the scullery heat in exchange for a body. This could be your exit, Arya. From scrubbing boots. From sleeping on tile. My lungs forget their task. $3 million. Mama's chemo would be covered with change to spare for time. For school. For a future not handcuffed to this much dust. Why me? I ask as if I don't already know. As if the answer isn't written in the way she looked at me when she found me asleep next to the dryer. She leans back. Diamonds clack together on her wrist like tiny bones. You're young, healthy, not from this world. No one will ask questions. You'll do as you're told. And you'll be grateful. Her smile is ice. And you're disposable. The folder gleams. The numbers hum. Mama's voice from last night cracks in the back of my throat. I hate asking you for help, Tesoro. If I had savings? I sign the contract that night with a hand that shakes like the pen weighs too much. I do it because love is sometimes ugly, and desperation looks like a signature. Dante is barely consulted. That's what Vivienne tells me in a tone used for staff and valet parking. It's arranged. Their marriage is a photograph that looked real once. He sleeps in his office more than their bed. She sleeps with her trainer, whose smile is all bared teeth and tan. The clinic is opulent and aseptic. The lights are too bright. The doctor's mouth is efficient. The nurse is kind when she tucks the blanket across my knees. I stare at the ceiling and think about ocean documentaries where the creatures look beautiful, while something sharp devours them. If hope were an animal, it would be a strange thing. Soft belly, iron skull. When the doctor tells me it worked, that the numbers are good, I clutch the goods so hard my nails bite my palm. A month after the procedure, I lie in a dim room as a wand skates gel across my skin. The monitor glows like a second sky. The tech clicks. A sound fills the room. A heartbeat like a hummingbird. Another joins it. I choke on a laugh, a sob, the way a miracle can be terror in a new language. Identical twins, the tech says, beaming. Vivienne's smile cracks along a fault line. 2 means risk. 2 means longer. 2 means I'm not just a vessel. I'm a storm she cannot schedule. Dante is there. For the first time since the laundry room, he is not a suit passing a doorframe. He stands at the foot of the bed, arms folded tight as if holding himself together is work he respects. The monitor paints my insides with light. 2 small fluttering structures. 2. 2 twins, he whispers. His voice curves around the word like it hurts and heals him at once. When I lift my face, I catch his profile in the washed-out screen glow. Something breaks in him, soft and soundless. He swallows. He looks at me as if I am suddenly carbonated with a truth he needed and never believed he would find. After that, he begins to ask about my health the way some men check their watch. Not perfunctory, not indulgent, a habit that makes space. Vitamins arrive with my name on them. A stack of books appears on my nightstand. Twin pregnancy, nutrition, sleep positioning. There are tabs, notes in a tidy, severe script. He's read them. Vivienne seethes as if oxygen has betrayed her. She's a vessel, Dante, an incubator. Stop personalizing this. She's carrying my children, he says, his jaw ablade. Our children. She's not furniture. It's the first real crack. Light gets in. Air rush. He confines me to the penthouse for safety, and by he I mean she tells me not to leave. The city hangs like a forbidden fruit I never liked anyway. The penthouse becomes a beautiful prison. Vivian smiles in front of him and sharpens her smiles when he's gone. She begins to bring me tea in a white porcelain cup with a gold rim. Special blend, she says. For nausea. For you. At first it tastes like winter. Then it tastes like metal. I drink it because she does not let me eat unless I show an empty cup. I drink it because the twins settle for an afternoon after. I drink it because rules have kept me alive when mercy wasn't on the menu. The day I meet him on the terrace, the sky is the color of an old bruise. The wind cuts, but I need something that isn't her. The city grinds below like a machine I'll never learn to fix. I press my palm to the swell of my abdomen. It's still shy, a secret pressing back at midnight. 2 heartbeats, 2 lives changing mine one breath at a time. Tears slip without permission. I wipe them away, but grief has its own hands. What's wrong? He asks from the doorway. I startle. He steps onto the terrace with the wariness of a man approaching a wounded animal. The babies? They're fine, I say quickly, because the lie would rot me from the inside. I just realized I'll never see them again. His expression stills. He's good at that, removing himself behind skin. The contract, he says. I leave after birth, I whisper. The cold needles my cheeks. They'll call her Mama, and I'll become a story even I can't tell. He doesn't move for a long breath. The city is all noise, and none of it matters here. He sits on the bench beside me with military neatness, leaving the exact amount of space that states a boundary and implies a bridge. That bothers you, he says, not judging, just offering the shape of my ache back to me. I know it shouldn't, I admit. Shame hot-mouthed, but they're real. To me, it bothers me too, he says, that you'll disappear, that they'll never know the woman who gave them life. His voice hits me where resolve lives. The bench becomes a confessional. The wind is colder and somehow softer. Why did you marry her? I ask. A stupid, brave question. He watches a skyscraper blink on. Arrangement, he says. Her father was my father's last business partner. The marriage fused empires. I thought I could learn to love her. And now? I was wrong. Do you love her now? His mouth hitches, humorless. No, I don't think I ever did. The quiet after is clothed and heavy. He leaves before we can ruin our lives faster than we intend. Something already shifted, but we pretend it didn't. The way tectonic plates do until a city falls. 2 weeks later, I drink her tea and the floor tips. The room runs away from me. Nausea carves me out from sternum to knees. Cramping slices. The world telescopes. There's blood, too much. A sound tears from me that has nothing to do with dignity. The hospital is a white blizzard. Hands move me. A doctor's voice cuts through the static. You're cramping hard. We need to keep those babies in. A nurse finds my hand and anchors it to now. Machines beep. The next hour is an ocean and I forget how to swim. The twins fight. They're small enough to be everything and enough to drown me. Toxicology comes back. Pennyroyal oil. I stare at the word until letters separate. An abortifacient, the doctor explains gently, the way bomb techs explain to civilians. Not enough to end a pregnancy, but enough to wreak havoc. Enough to harm. Have you consumed any herbal teas? He asks. My mind flashes to porcelain white, gold rim. A hand with a diamond walking like a spider across the cup to set it on the tray. Special blend, she'd said, smiling like God in a painting. Your wife, I tell Dante when he arrives, moving like a bullet in an expensive coat. She's been bringing me tea for 2 weeks. He goes still in that terrifying way he has. Not a single muscle betrays him, only his eyes sharpen to a cut. Who, he says quiet, gave you what? I want to be small enough not to make this worse. I want to be brave enough to save my children. Mama taught me that bravery is doing the thing that keeps you breathing even when you're not sure you deserve the oxygen. Vivian, I say, the fight that night is not a fight. It is a dissection. His voice is ice. Hers, hysteria with a manicure. She's lying, she shrieks. She wants your attention. He holds up the lab report like a verdict. The hospital doesn't lie. Pennyroyal oil, he says, each syllable a bullet. She rages against a wall that won't return heat. The penthouse shakes. The next morning, I wake in a different world. My room is now a suite in the opposite wing. A security keypad gleams by the door. 2 cameras blink a red eye in the corners, angles covering hall and inside, not in my bathroom or closet. Respect contained in strategy. A tray arrives like clockwork every 4 hours with food chosen from a dietitian's plan. He starts working from home. He's simultaneously closer and careful, as if proximity is a sacred thing he refuses to cheapen. He hires a private investigator, and the man arrives with a face like a shut book. The findings unfold like a ledger in firelight. Vivienne has been embezzling from his consulting firm for 3 years. 2.1 million rerouted through charities that buy yachts and dress rage in silk. He discovers deleted emails with a plan that reads like a script. Pay me $500,000 up front. Arrange an accident in delivery. Claim the twins as a grieving mother. Keep the remaining 2.5. Maintain the image. The contract is a coffin with an invoice. He shows me the emails without triumph. You need to see, he says. There will be no more hiding the cost. He tells me what his business actually is, at least what it was, and the truth is a shadow under a bed I'd always suspected. Import consulting as the veneer on a money laundry for the Santoro crime family. He's been trying to exit for 2 years, to build something clean that won't call debt collectors with guns. Vivienne knows. She has backups. She has threatened to call the FBI if he leaves her, to become a martyr in a court filled with cameras. She trapped me, he says, and it is not a plea for sympathy. It is a fact, placed on the table like a gun we both understand. He brings me dinner at midnight when the house is quiet, a bowl of something simple and rich. He stands at the counter like a man learning what hands are for when they're not fists. We talk like people who have been starved of words that mean something. I learn his favorite films are black and white with endings that don't blink. He learns that I can read Dante's Italian and sometimes choose to, because it feels like prayer to speak in stanzas when the world is prose. Why were you a maid? He asks. Medical school, I say. The words taste like chalk and courage. 2nd year. Mama got sick. The bills built into a mountain, and the loan notices moaned like ghosts. Survival means swallowing what you thought your life would taste like. He nods. And the nod is not pity. It is recognition. I've eaten that. Why do you stay with her? I ask. Because we have moved into a country where the questions are honest, even when the answers are inconvenient. Marriage is complicated, he says, which is a brutal kindness. But I'm ending it. Soon. We review security footage at 2 a.m, a map of the past drawn in pixels and timestamps. He leans in. He is precise. He is not performing rage or purity. His hand drifts to my abdomen, where the twins roll like fish in a pond at dusk. His palm is warm. We both freeze. The babies kick against him like recognition. I won't let anything happen to you, he says. It's not a vow. It's a plan. Or them. I cover his hand with mine. This is wrong, I whisper. Because I want him and I have a contract and he has a wife he will leave tomorrow or never, and both options are treacherous. You're still married. My marriage died years ago, he replies, something raw in him for once. He looks down at our joined hands as if they are an artifact. This is the first real thing I've felt in a long time. He pulls back before the line breaks. When this is over, he says. When you're safe and I'm free. Ask me then. We pretend to go back to footage. The pretense shatters the morning she finds us asleep on the couch, my head on his shoulder, his hand splayed over the summit of my stomach. Both of us claimed by the exhaustion of people who have been holding up a building and finally set it down. She stands over us with a look that makes me understand why some storms are named. Something in me remembers the laundry tile. I sit up too fast. She doesn't scream. She smiles. That's how I know I'm in real danger. An hour later, I take the stairs because I no longer trust the elevator alone. The steps are white marble, polished to a dangerous sheen. The banister is a ribbon of steel. She appears above me like a logic problem designed to fail. You think you can take my place? She murmurs. Her voice is sugar water over poison. You're a maid. She shoves me. Hard. Enough to end a chapter. Enough to end everything. I grab the railing. The world tilts the way it did when the tea ate my insides. I fall. 6 steps. A small violence that tastes like death because of what it could mean. Pain flares in my wrist, bright and stupid. I scream. Blood. Too much again. The security camera watches, blinking red, impartial. It catches everything. The shove. The stumble. The proof. The hospital smells like antiseptic and human fear. The twins are resilient monsters of light. They hold on. The doctor tells me early labor is a risk, but for now I'm safe if I am still. My wrist is fractured. The cast itches and saves me. I sleep because I have to. He watches the footage 3 times. His face goes nowhere. That's how I know something terrible cracked in him and froze that way. He has her arrested without raising his voice. Assault with intent. Attempted murder. Conspiracy. They drag her out of the penthouse screaming like the chandelier owes her apologies. "Those babies are mine!" She shrieks. "I paid." She's nothing. The neighbors drink the sound like coffee. The cameras outside record her best angles. He files for divorce before the echo stops. He calls the Santoro Consigliere like a man rearranging the chessboard with a knife. "Bring me everything you have on her." They do. It piles. Her affair with Marco, the personal trainer whose smile always showed teeth, with a twist of the knife. Marco is Dante's business partner. They planned to kill him after the twins were born. A staged car accident on a rainy night. Then she would cry and keep the company stock and raise children she nearly sacrificed for a dress size. The police find enough to build a small city of charges. While she waits for trial, I spend a week in the hospital and discover the precise weight of care. He is there every day, a dark shape in an uncomfortable chair. He reads to me. The books are not about pregnancy. They are about men who made bargains and paid and lived anyway. He sleeps in a recliner, one hand reaching for the bed like his arm has been taught a new religion. One night, I wake and the room is thick with the sound of his breathing. I touch his hand with my fingertips because I am tired of pretending I don't want to. His eyes open, and for once he isn't a carved thing. He is human, messy, tired, beautiful. "You're supposed to rest," he says. "So are you." We look at each other for too long. Silence holds its breath. "I'm sorry," he says. It lands like a confession. "I brought you into hell. I was blind to what she was. I nearly cost you everything." "You saved me," I tell him. "Saved our babies." He repeats the words slowly. "Our babies," like he's tasting a language with permission. The contract says, "The lawyer says surrogacy through coercion and deception invalidates it," he replies. It's void. These babies are mine, and he stops and looks like a man about to jump into water he can't see the bottom of. And my heart unspools. "And yours," he says. "If you want them." "If you want us." I cry because sometimes the right thing opens a trapdoor in your ribcage and lets the truth fall out. "I've been falling for you for months," I admit. "I felt guilty because you were married, because I'm nobody. You're not nobody." He moves to the edge of the bed, careful of tubes in my aching wrist and the small sovereign country of my pregnant body. He cups my face with a gentleness that shocks me. "You're everything. You're brave and kind, and you're carrying my children, and I don't want you to disappear. I want you to stay. As my partner, as the woman I'm falling in love with. If you'll have me." I kiss him because that's the answer. His hand slides to the curve above the babies, and we cry into each other's mouths like people who found a well after months in a desert and can't believe it's not a mirage. The trial is a show. The city loves a woman who cries pretty tears and hates a poor girl who refuses to. Vivian's lawyer tries to turn my life into an audition. "She seduced a married man," he purrs. The judge asks him to sit down with a tone that suggests she's watched a lot of men pretend stupidity as strategy. I testify. My wrist is mended, but my voice still shakes. Not from fear, from fury held still. "I was hired as a maid," I say. "I was made to sleep on the floor. I was offered money to carry children for a woman who tried to kill me. I didn't seduce anyone. I survived." Dante sits behind me, his hand on my shoulder. Heat and weight and witness. When the verdict is read, it's heavy. 15 years each for Vivian and Marco. Fraud, attempted murder, embezzlement, conspiracy. The judge looks at her and says, "You tried to steal her life." Vivian screams, "You stole mine," which is not how theft works, but is exactly how she believed it did. Media swarms like locusts, but the penthouse grows thorns. Security becomes a white noise. He goes legitimate like a man who's been waiting to inhale clean air, real estate instead of import, contracts written in ink instead of blood. I watch him build an empire that doesn't need a body count to stand. Winter throws itself against the city. It sticks. I break at 3 a.m, water and panic. The storm makes the world small and the roads disappear. The driver rolls slow through a city holding its breath. Dante holds my hand and murmurs, "Almost there." over the chainsaw rhythm of contractions. 14 hours is a lifetime you live in a day. I find a canyon in myself and cross it because the babies are on the other side. He never leaves. He coaches my breathing like the metronome he sets when his world shakes. The doctor says, "Now," and I become something else entirely. A boy first, wailing like he invented the concept. A girl 3 minutes later, furious at the cold. He cuts both cords with hands that have done damage and now do this. He cries openly, the kind of tears that salt the earth and make something new grow. "You gave me everything," he says, kissing my sweat and triumph and terror. "A family, a reason to be better, a future worth living. We gave each other everything," I say, because truth deserves symmetrical language. The days after blur. Milk and sleep deprivation. Diapers and tiny fists punching the air like it insulted them first. He is patient, awestruck, demanding with nurses when I don't have the words. He changes diapers like he signed a contract with the universe to do it perfectly. He wears the sling and walks the hall whispering Italian nonsense like a lullaby spell. 6 weeks later, the doctor clears me, and the words feel like a soft door opening. My body is mine again in a new way. My abdomen is mapped with faint silvered lines like constellations that mark where 2 stars lived. He never rushes. He never takes. He is present. An animal who learned the sweetness of waiting. One evening, the twins sleep a miracle's length. We collapse together on the couch. My laugh is weak and real. I don't know how single parents survive. "Good thing you're stuck with me," he says. And the way he says it turns stuck into chosen. Am I? I ask, teasing and terrified. His expression shifts from play to truth. He pulls a small black box from his pocket. It looks obscene and perfect. He opens it. The ring is a simple platinum band and a single diamond that catches light like water. "Marry me," he says, not because of obligation, not because of cameras, because love forged in hell learned it could survive daylight, not because of the babies, not because of what we survived. Marry me because I love you, and I want to spend every day proving it. Yes, I say, immediately, because some answers do not require thought, only breath. 2 weeks after the proposal, the doctor's clearance is a permission slip. My heart reads every morning before my brain. The twins sleep through the night for the first time. A fragile gift we both treat like bone china. The master bedroom used to be hers. Now it smells like us. Clean cotton, faint candle smoke, his sandalwood, the ghost of the babies, a future built on the ruins of a lie. He planned this without show. Candles flicker. The music is soft and low, the kind that smooths edges and lifts chins. He looks nervous in a way that turns my ribs to peach pits. He stands by the bed as if approaching an altar built to forgive. "Are you sure you're ready?" he asks. He touches my cheek and his thumb catches a tremor I don't apologize for. "The doctor cleared you, but that doesn't mean you have to—" I kiss him to stop the part where he would convince me to wait if I breathed wrong. "I'm sure," I say into his mouth. "I want this, want you. I've been waiting." He unties the belt of my robe slow enough to make my knees soft. It falls, silk sighing to the floor. I stand in the soft light, and every panic I thought I buried bangs against my ribs. My body is different. There are new lines, new curves, evidence, proof. Scars you can only see if you touch, and he touches like reverence is the first language he learned. "You're breathtaking," he says. He traces my stretch marks like a cartographer charting a wonder he's not entitled to, but was invited to witness. "You carried our children. These," his finger follows silver lines on my hips, "are proof of your strength, of what you gave us. You're more beautiful now than ever." I tug his shirt up and over his head. There's a scar on his ribs, a white crescent from a life that used to demand payment. I trace it. We both carry marks. "We do," he says, and his voice is something I want to drink. He smells like clean skin and winter, and something that always made me feel safer than I had the right to be. His hands are warm, mapping every curve like he's learning a terrain he plans to live on. He kisses my shoulder, the bend of my neck, the place just above where the babies used to press a heel. He doesn't rush. He waits for every yes in my breath. "Tell me if anything hurts," he murmurs. "Nothing hurts, I promise. You make everything right." Consent is something we lay between us like a blanket, and then slide under. When we join, it's slow, reverent, a welcome. I don't think of pain. only of how the thrum in my chest finds a match in his. Motion is unhurried, gentle, like waves that know this shore intimately. His forehead presses to mine, and the world narrows to the stretch between us. I love you, Arya, he says, and the name is not a name. It's the story he wrote to replace the ones other people had for me. Every part of you. Thank you for trusting me with this. With you. Tears slip to my temples and into my hairline because the good is so much I don't know how to keep it all. I love you too. So much. When the moment breaks, it's more than release. It's a door opening between two houses that always belong together. He holds me like women should be held after they give and receive like this. Like I'm treasure he stole from fate. Aftercare is an art. He wraps me in the sheet, tucks me into his chest. He kisses my hairline and murmurs nonsense in Italian that makes me laugh and cry again. You're mine now, he says, not as a claim against the world, but as an exchange with me. My fiancé, mother of my children, love of my life, my everything. And you're mine, I tell him, fierce through happy tears. No more hollow man in a loveless marriage. No more alone, mine, forever mine. We drift in that afterglow where skin hums and souls exhale. His hand traces patterns on my hip without thought. I rest my ear over the steady drum of his heart. What are you thinking? I ask. That I'm the luckiest man alive, he says simply. That I almost lost this before I even knew I wanted it. That you're my miracle. I kiss his chest, salt and warm. We're both miracles. We survived hell and found heaven. The baby monitor crackles like a distant storm. A small fuss. We both laugh without complaint. Reality calls, he says. Our reality, I correct. The best one. He kisses my forehead as if crowning me. 1 year later, the air smells like coffee and formula and roses. We married at City Hall 6 months back with hands that didn't shake. Mama stood beside me in a dress she saved from a time when saving was easier. Her hair is thinner and her color is better. Remission tastes like a word you never stop rolling under your tongue in gratitude. We're planning a celebration when the twins are older. A party that will smell like tomatoes and garlic and safety. I'm back in school. Online for now. Anatomy clicks. Pathophysiology sings. I study between feedings and naps, and the soft chaos of a home that contains the remnants of a war we won. Dante funds it without making me feel bought. He takes the twins for an hour before dawn so I can read. I hear him in the nursery making the most powerful men in the city laugh with a stuffed giraffe while he whispers, "Don't tell anyone your father does voices." I wake in the bed I wasn't allowed to look at before. The sunlight paints everything in forgiving gold. The ring on my finger is not heavy, but it reminds me of every step between a laundry room tile and here. He comes in with coffee. He looks at me like men who thought they were steel do when they find out they are also flesh, and that the discovery is the best thing that ever happened to them. They're plotting something, he says. Faux grave. I can tell. They're one, I remind him, smiling. What could they plot? World domination, he replies, handing me the mug. They have your intelligence and my stubbornness. The twins toddle in, early walkers because of course they are. They grab the bedspread and crow triumph. We pull them up and pile into a life I wasn't supposed to be allowed to imagine. It's chaotic. It's perfect. The boy smacks the ring with a sticky hand and I don't flinch. The girl pulls at his watch and he lets her, like time should always yield to love. Happy, he asks, almost as if he doesn't trust the answer's power. Deliriously, I say, which is the only word that holds the right amount of too much. From invisible maid to beloved wife. From floor to a bed that meant something else a year ago. From an empty bank account to a life that runs on a currency called trust. Not revenge, not a slow bleed called tolerance. We built a home out of the ashes of cruelty and placed a door on the front and a lock on the back that no longer hides monsters. It keeps them out. Sometimes, late at night, when the city hums and the children sigh in their sleep, I walk to the laundry room and stand in the doorway. I don't go in. I don't have to. I turn away and go back to the life we remade, to the man who waits with a book and a smile in a bed that is ours. The title of my story used to be Survival. It's different now. It's a promise I wake up inside every morning, and a vow I sleep to every night. The first hint that safety can be louder than fear is the way the twins sleep when he's near. It's not science, but it's proof. He walks into the nursery at 3 a.m., his voice low and steady, and their fists uncurl. He tucks the blanket just so, 2 perfect diagonals like compass points. I watch from the doorway wrapped in a robe, my body still learning its new geography. I never thought the act of being seen could be a lullaby. By morning, the city has dusted itself with frost. The windows draw pale light across the bassinet edges, a thin rim of silver. Dante presses a kiss to my temple before he shrugs on his coat. "I'll be back by 10, he says, buttoning the lapel with brisk efficiency. Meeting at the firm. Then the contractor wants us to pick finishes for the nursery. He says us, and it lands in my chest like a warm stone in cold water. We're not changing anything, I tease. We already chose the wallpaper with the moon phases. His mouth tilts. We'll discuss the rug. When he leaves, I breathe the quiet and the milk in the air, and the sweet low buzz of the baby monitor. My phone vibrates. A text from Mama. "Send a picture of my grandbabies, Bella." I do, and then another because her joy has become the religion I practice. At 9:30, I pad to the kitchen for toast and find the envelope on the island like a snake coiled in the sun. No name on it, no stamp, just our address in heavy ink. The seal is unbroken and threatening. The security console shows the feed from the lobby. No visitor, no delivery. It must have slipped in last night in the chaos of bottles and sleep and a neon-tired brain. I slide a butter knife beneath the flap. Inside, a single glossy print and a line of text cut out from a magazine like we time-traveled into a cheap ransom story. The photo is of me in the hospital, asleep and hollowed out by labor. The baby's on my chest, Dante kissing my hair. The line beneath it, "You won a role you didn't audition for." My mouth dries. Cold trickles into my spine. I flip the photo. No fingerprints I can see. The paper smells like toner and a stranger's house. Samir, head of security, appears in the doorway as if summoned by alarm pheromones. He's a mountain in a sweater. "Everything okay, Ms. Morelli?" I hand him the picture. He studies it and a muscle jumps in his jaw. "Where was this?" "The hospital," I whisper. "Who could have—" "Copy of a copy. Printed from a phone," he says. "We'll pull every feed. We'll find where this came from." He peels an evidence bag from his pocket like a magician with a very specific trick. "Don't touch anything else." The twins rustle over the monitor. The sound calls me back to the world where things are tangible and solvable. Diapers, warm bottles, a kiss on a downy head. But under that is a hum I know well. Trouble is a sound you can hear if you've trained your bones. When Dante returns, he has snow on his shoulders and heat in his eyes. I watch the moment he sees the evidence bag on the counter and how it turns his face into a blade. He slides the photo out without touching it. He reads the line and goes still. "Who?" he asks, voice quiet the way cliffs are quiet. "Samir thinks it's copied from a phone," I say, keeping my voice steady in case the babies are listening for my heartbeat through the walls. No delivery logs. "It was on the island." His thumb presses once against the edge of the counter. Decision compresses into that tiny motion. "Lockdown," he says, already dialing. "Alarms stay armed. New passwords full sweep. Call Calvino. Tell him to pull every second of footage from TriMed and the parking structure for the week." I grip the back of a chair until my knuckles ghost the wood. "Do you think it's her?" "She's behind glass and steel," he says, jaw set. "But hatred finds messengers." "Marco?" I ask, tasting bile. He's in confinement too. But loyal men are loyal even to the unworthy. "Could be some idiot who wants a bonus," he says. "Could be our past reminding us it hates to be ignored." He looks at me then, and all the steel melts at the edges. "Are you okay?" "Yes," I say, and it's almost true. "The babies are okay." I don't say, "I'm tired of being a screen other people project their ugliness onto." I don't say, "I can fight." But I'm carrying more than myself now, and the math recalculates everything. By afternoon, the apartment is an anthill of quiet, professional men in discreet shoes. A tech with inked knuckles and a fragile mouth scrubs the servers. A woman with hair cut like wire installs a new keypad in the private elevator. They move like they've rehearsed this dance, which means they have. I hate that, and am grateful for it. I strap my daughter to my chest and tuck my son into the sling against Dante. We tour our own penthouse, a map I can recite in the dark. The main hall with its treacherous steps is gone now, replaced with a split staircase that grips ankles like a guardian. The laundry room is a closet again, an appliance space, clean to within an inch of its life. We passed the nursery with its moon phase wallpaper. And rug we didn't discuss, because the world had other plans for our talking. He stops in the doorway to the former master suite, the one that used to smell like her perfume and now smells like our lives. Lights on dimmers, the faint rose of the candle he lit the night he asked me to marry him. The bed. A geography I know like home. He looks at it, then at me. The baby strapped against him stirring with a soft vowel of a sound. This room, he says, will never hold her again, even in a story. I nod because I've felt it too, the way rooms keep ghosts. We exorcised ours with paint and sleep and 1,000 small moments. Still, I appreciate the ritual of naming. It doesn't. I say softly. It belongs to us. It belongs to them. At 10 that night, the phone buzzes on the nightstand. A message from an unknown number appears on the secure line. There's no text, just a video thumbnail. Black frame, then a jump to footage. An angle down a hospital corridor. A woman in scrubs wheels a cart. A man in a baseball cap stands at a water fountain, phone out. He lifts it. The shot shakes. He films into my room through the narrow slat of the barely shut door. It's my face, my baby's. Dante's hand, the clip ends. A second message pings. Enjoy the family while it lasts. I don't speak. I forward the clip to Samir and then to the number Dante uses when the world requires armor. He's already moving, already dialing. Orders shoot across systems I don't have names for. He sits back on the bed, hard, when the calls end. He puts his head in his hands for one full breath. Then he is steel again. He looks at me with apology and fury braided together. This is on me, he says. No, I say, sharper than I meant. It's on them. He stares like the correction is a lifeline. I'll fix it, he says. I'll fix this, and then we'll live like we promised. He does what he says. The next morning, we are at the DA's office with a flash drive and a very polite legal dragon named Rosalia Chin. She wears pearls like a weapon. She looks at the clip, then at us. We'll fold this into the restraining order violations, she says. And the witness intimidation charges. I also want your building security footage of the delivery of that envelope. We give it. She gives us paper that makes the air feel thicker with protection. On the way home, the car idles at a light on 5th. A woman outside in a camel coat stops mid-stride and stares. Recognition brushes her face and then everything curdles. She spits on the sidewalk, a theatrical loop of disdain. I think about the narratives clean people tell themselves to sleep at night. I think about how often they mistake money for morality. In the lobby, an old doorman who's seen too much holds the elevator for us and says, without looking up, don't let them turn you into their story. His voice is gravel and grace. It goes into my pocket like a talisman. That night, the twins won't settle. They're too awake to sleep and too small to know why. We take shifts, singing in a house that used to have only silence. When he takes his turn, his voice is rough from disuse and emotion and something like prayer. He sings the chorus of an Italian lullaby Mama loved, the one with the line about the moon being a mother that never leaves the window. At 2 a.m, my phone vibrates with a message from an unknown number again. I open it and the room tilts, not because of threat, but because of the person on the screen. My father, not blood, not legal, but the man who taught me to hold a wrench and a moral. He's sitting at his small kitchen table, in the apartment over the bodega that smells like fresh bread and luck. He looks scared in a way that makes his face younger and older. Behind him, the door is open. The hallway beyond is darker than it should be. Arya, he says, breathless. I got a call from a number I didn't know. Then I got a knock. But when I opened, the video shakes. The frame lurches. The camera flips and lands on the floor. It shows feet, expensive and impatient. A voice says, take the phone. Another says, no blood. The boss wants him scared, not dead. The clip ends. My body knows panic like an old friend and an enemy. I don't scream because the twins could make it worse for themselves if I light the air on fire. I stand up so fast my knees remind me I'm still healing. Dante, I say, voice shredded. I show him the screen. Everything that is good in him takes a number and waits. The part of him he keeps caged, the one that made the Santoros invite him to their table in the first place, steps forward. He doesn't yell. He doesn't promise. He moves. Samir, he says into the phone. Pull every camera within 4 blocks of DeLuca's. Send the closest team. No uniforms. Quiet. He turns to me and places his hands on my shoulders like an oath. Stay here, he says. Do not open the door to anyone but me or Samir or Rosalia. Not even the building manager. If you feel one thing wrong in your bones, take the babies into the safe room and lock down. Keypad code is changed to your birthday, plus the twins' minutes apart. You remember? 3 minutes, I say, breath short. I'm not staying. Arya, he says, a small storm in my name. He raised me when Mama worked double shifts, I say, hands shaking. He taught me how to change a tire and my mind. I'm not staying. He looks at me and there's a new thing in his gaze, recognition of my stubbornness as a variable in the equation he constructed from fear and logic. He recalculates. Backseat, he says. Safe seat. We bring them because we don't split our family with threats in the air. We can, he says. And we will. The safe seat is a steel cradle built into the SUV with a harness system I would trust with the planet. We strap them in. Their eyes are wide and moonbright in the dark. I tuck a blanket around them and press a kiss to each forehead. We're making good choices, I whisper, which is as much for me as it is for them. The streets blur. Snow makes the city quiet and dangerous. As we turn onto DeLuca's block, I see a black sedan idling 2 doors down, lights off. A man leans against a lamppost, smoking like an actor who didn't read the audition sides about subtlety. Another man stands at the bodega's entrance with his back to us, head tilted as if listening through the door. Stay, Dante says. And this time I do, because there are moments to be a storm and moments to be a fortress. He steps out into the cold with his coat unbuttoned and his hands visible. He walks like a man who knows every camera sees him and wants them to. Evening, he says to the man at the door. Casual as death. You lost? The man turns and I recognize him from the hospital footage, a slice of jaw I'd seen in the reflection of stainless steel. He tries to reach under his jacket, and suddenly Dante's hand is on his wrist, flat and efficient. There is no flourish. Pain speaks. The man grunts. The other one at the lamppost flicks his cigarette away and starts to move in. But Samir's SUV slides into the space like a chess piece, and 3 men in dark coats become gravity where there wasn't any. 2 minutes later, my father figure, Johnny, stumbles out, pale and furious. He sees me through the windshield and his mouth trembles. I unbuckle, ignoring the voice in my head counting risk factors. He grabs me and says, "Stupid brave girl," into my hair. I cry into his sweater because the adrenaline needed somewhere to go that wasn't my bones. We take him with us. We drop him at the penthouse with a blanket, and the guest room at the end of the hall with the best light. He refuses to sleep at first, stubborn as brick. The twins gurgle at him and something in his shoulders drops. He sits, he eats, he sleeps. Dante doesn't. He works the phone. He works the streets. He is a blur and a fixed point. He learns that the men were hired by a middle manager who wanted to curry favor with a woman who can't sign favors anymore. He learns that someone inside TriMed sold time codes to a man who wears caps in hallways and records what doesn't belong to him. He wraps it all in neat packages labeled evidence and sends them spun with legal thread to Rosalia, who smiles with her teeth for once. When we testify in the restraining hearing for the 3rd time, the courtroom smells like wood polish and nerves. The judge's eyebrow is sharp as a scalpel. Rosalia lays out the clips, the envelope, the bodega attempt. Vivian's new lawyer tries a new angle. A soft voice and pity for the woman driven to a moment by betrayal. The judge has read ahead. Attempting to harm infants and terrorize a witness are not moments, she says. They are felonies. She extends the order. She adds a GPS tether and a clause that reads like a wall. No third-party contact on her behalf. For a week, it is quiet enough that Joy can climb into bed with us and stretch its legs. We take the twins to the pediatrician together and argue about whose smile the boy has. We eat dinner at the counter in spells of 3 minutes between small human needs. He puts on a suit and goes to a meeting with men who put their names on buildings instead of deeds. He sends me a picture of his tie skewed by a tiny handprint of formula, and I realize I don't have to be there to feel included. The day before the sentencing hearing, the quiet tears. It starts with a smell. I'm chopping onions, crying for all the ordinary reasons, when something metallic drifts in from the hall. Not blood, not coins, something else. I turn off the stove. I walk to the nursery and look at the vents. Nothing. I check the air purifier. Fine. The smell sharpens. Bitter almond. My body reacts faster than memory. I scoop both babies into the sling with the practice of a woman who trained for panic. I cover their faces lightly with the blanket. I call the internal code on the intercom, and the house system answers with a voice that sounds calm because it is fake. I do not run. Running drops babies. I walk fast, pulse high, to the safe room. The keypad light blinks to life. I enter my birthday, then 3. The lock thunks. The door seals like a vault, kissing itself shut. I sit on the floor with 2 warm, wriggling reasons to survive and listen to men turn the rest of the apartment into an instrument of war. The ventilation system shuts with a mechanical sigh. Samir's voice comes through the speaker, muted steel. Stay put. Don't open. We're flushing the ducts now. Bitter almond, I say, my voice too calm. Cyanide? Likely a cheap cousin, he replies. Stay with the babies, I hum. I tell them the story of the moon and the mother who never leaves the window. I breathe slow for them because they copy me. The door is thick. The world is thinner. When the all clear comes, they test us anyway. Tiny pricks. Numbers on a monitor. Clean. A vent grate in the hall hangs crooked. A black mouth with its tongue missing. The maintenance man who serviced the vents yesterday is on the ground with his hands zip-tied and his face the color of a label that says expired. He had a wife who needed a surgery and a man offered cash for one small job. He chose wrong, and now he will pay. But I still want to sit on the floor and cry for the way life corners people. It doesn't excuse. It explains. It makes me want to work in a clinic that catches people before they fall into men like the ones who emptied bottles into ducks. The judge doesn't smile when she adds the attempted poisoning to the list. She recommends the maximum on the conspiracy counts. Vivian is beautiful in a way that makes the ugliness shine brighter. She stares at me with a look I recognize because I used to wear a version of it. Why you and not me? The answer is not fair. The answer is choices and math and luck, and a man who wanted to be different as much as he wanted to win. On sentencing day, the courthouse steps are a theater. Cameras swarm. Lenses hungry for a stumble. Dante takes my hand and the world steadies. Rosalia walks slightly ahead, a shield in pearls. We step over a cord like it isn't a line they want us to trip. A woman shoves a mic near my face and asks, "What would you say to the people who think you stole another woman's life?" I stop. I keep my voice soft because softness is not weakness in a mouth that learned what words can do. I would say I didn't steal anything, I reply. I survived. I told the truth. I protected my children. That's a life I'll never apologize for. Inside, the judge reads the numbers like years are seeds you can count. 15 becomes real. There are appeals pending, there always are. But the weight is there. The clink, the echo. When the gavel falls, something in me unclenches that I didn't know was holding on. We go home and put the babies down for a nap that is so perfect it feels staged. We sit on the floor between their cribs and watch them breathe. He reaches over and takes my hand and presses my palm to his mouth and breathes me in like he's trying to fix the map of me into his lungs. "Come with me," he says later, when the sun is a bruise and the city is a rumor. He leads me to a door I never noticed, a flush panel in the hall. He palms it. It opens on a narrow stair. We climb to the roof. The sky is a dark bowl full of cold stars. He has set a small table with 2 chairs and a blanket thrown over one like an invitation to forgive the wind. "I want to show you something," he says. He points to a building 2 blocks over. A construction site has a skeleton on it that will be a tower. A banner hangs off the scaffolding, Castellano Properties. "That's ours," he says. "The first one that's clean from blueprint to ribbon." I wanted a place I could point to and say, "Nobody bled for that but me in boardrooms." I lean into him because sometimes the sexiest thing a man can say is a plan with integrity. He wraps the blanket around my shoulders and tucks it under my chin like I'm a treasure he's never bored of protecting. "Do you ever miss it?" I ask. "The other way?" He thinks too long to be lying. "Sometimes," he admits. "Power is a drug and I was an easy vein. But this..." He gestures to the city, the babies sleeping under us, the world we carved. "This is a high I can live with. It doesn't end with sirens." A wind gust skates teeth along my cheeks. He cups my face, his palms warm. He smells like skin and winter and home. I kiss him because I need him to know that the roof and the ring and the babies and the building all matter. But nothing matters like the way he looks at me when I step into a room and the air learns a new name for itself. Later, when the twins wake and the world returns to a gentle chaos, Gianni tells me a story I've never heard about my mother, how she used to bend the world toward kindness by the angle of her chin. You get that from her, he says, tapping my jaw. You stand up polite until standing up has to turn into standing in the doorway. Standing in the doorway? I ask. So nothing ugly gets through, he replies. And if it tries, it meets you first. Night layers on night. We fall into a rhythm that feels like the opposite of survival because it contains choice. He works, I study. We both parent. We take turns being the one who showers and the one who wears a shirt with spit up like a medal. We make love rarely because the twins keep hours like gamblers, but when we do, it is better than any drug because the side effects include peace. The hearing for Marcos's final appeal arrives like a calendar event that had the courtesy to send reminders. We sit in the second row, hands interlaced like an interlocking system. He is denied. He shouts something in a language that never had room for grace. The guard's hand on his shoulder is firm and professional. He disappears. The door closes. The room exhales. Outside, snow begins again. Not a storm, a declaration. It catches in my hair and I tilt my face to let it. He takes a picture of me without warning. I flinch, then laugh. Trauma response, I say, smoothing my face with a hand. Rewriting the association, he replies, sliding the phone into his pocket with the image preserved. What does it look like? I ask. Like the woman I love, he says, simple as a fact. Happy, cold, mine. I feel the word land and settle. Not property, place, belonging. Back home, we pass the laundry room without pausing. I don't need rituals. I need diapers and degrees and a man who takes the trash out like it's a privilege because it leaves me 10 more minutes of studying. I need the smell of coffee at 5 a.m. and the sound of a lullaby in a voice that learned to be tender late and thoroughly. On the twins' first birthday, the apartment fills with 4 people we can trust, and 10 balloons because we said no to more. Mama claps with a vigor she didn't have last year, and I wipe away tears that don't ask permission. The cake is lopsided and perfect. The boy sticks his whole face in the frosting. The girl offers a piece to her brother like she's been a host all her life. After we put them to bed, we sit on the kitchen floor, backs against the cabinets, knees touching. The house is messy with joy. My hair smells like sugar. His sleeve is stained blue. We kiss like we remembered to. I was thinking, he says, the cadence that means he's practiced the words and put them back in their box 5 times. We could start looking for a place with a yard. A yard in Manhattan? I tease. Are we buying Central Park? Brooklyn has trees, he counters. Or we could build a rooftop garden. Something alive that isn't fighting to stay that way. We already have that, I say, gesturing to the rooms where our children breathe. Then softer. But I'd like a swing. Somewhere to push them and tell them not to believe anyone who says the sky is the limit. The sky is a ceiling. We'll teach them to make doors. He smiles at me with a look that used to be rare and is now the currency of my days. You realize you are the reason I believe in absurdly good things? I thought it was the other way around, I say. Both can be true, he replies. It's my favorite kind of math. We clean up. We fall into bed. The monitor stays quiet for whole minutes at a time, and each one feels like a gift from a universe that has decided to stop being cruel for a night. Before sleep, I pull the drawer of the nightstand and look at the photo I put there after the courthouse. The one of me and the babies and his mouth on my hair. I don't hide from it anymore. I took our narrative back. It lives here now, not in envelopes. When I sleep, I dream of the moon. She sits at our window with a shawl over her shoulders and watches the twins breathe. She watches me put my hand on his chest and feel the steady. She knows what we had to do to live. She knows what we are doing now to deserve the peace we got. If there's a God, she looks like that. Old and silver and patient. She waited for us to find the door. We did. We will keep it open. The twins' first word is no, which feels appropriate for children born into a house that learned to draw boundaries the hard way. It happens over oatmeal. He points at the spoon and says, Avanti. And our son shakes his head with a satisfaction that lights my ribs. Our daughter laughs like betrayal is funny if you're loved enough. He pretends injury. I kiss his cheek and taste cinnamon and surrender. Spring comes to New York like a bruised peach, all sweetness with spots of rot you avoid if you know where to look. We're good at that now, seeing the bad before it sticks. The case docket drips with finalities, motions denied, appeals stamped with dates so far away they might as well be fairy tales. We visit Mama on Sundays and let the twins terrorize her houseplants while she sneaks them blueberries and tells them stories about my father's terrible dance moves. On a Tuesday morning heavy with ordinary, we meet the contractor at the new building and pick tile for the lobby. He chooses a slate that looks like rain and stone. I pick a vein of white that runs through it like a promise. We argue fondly about grout. He lets me win because he plans to claim victory in something else later. He kisses me in the freight elevator between the 12th and 14th floors. A quick brush that still makes my knees consider new careers. Back home, I spread my anatomy notes on the counter and bracket the iliac crest like it might tell me a secret. He takes the twins to the park and texts me a photo of them on the baby swings. 4 tiny hands reaching for the sky because children are born knowing better. When they return, the air shifts by a degree. He has that look, the one he thinks is neutral and is actually a flag. He sets the diaper bag down too carefully. The Santoro Consigliere called, he says. A courtesy. They're hearing a rumor. About? The word rolls slow and heavy. About a ledger, he says. Marco kept a private one. Names. Transfers. A note about a final payment on delivery tied to Vivienne's father's offshore account. Someone's shopping it. The world doesn't tilt anymore when danger knocks. It just gets more precise. Shopping it to who? Whoever will pay to keep it quiet, he says. Or whoever will pay to make it loud. Either way, it's leverage. Against you. Against us, he corrects, because his life is braided with mine and he never pretends otherwise. What do we do? I ask. He prefers me asking. It's not permission. It's partnership. We get ahead of it, he says. We find it. We understand it. We make sure no one can write our names on a story we didn't live. He calls in a favor from a man who prefers art auctions to gun shows and somehow still seats criminals next to philanthropists like they all buy the same thing. A rendezvous is arranged in a place so public it's safe, and so loud we can talk without the walls growing ears. Madison Square Garden on a game night. He hates it because it's chaos. I hate it because chaos reminds me of that first gala where I poured champagne like penance. We go anyway, because the line between caution and paralysis is thinner than I like. Samir doesn't let us step out of the SUV until the team is in position. He fits an earpiece into Dante's ear like he's crowning him with responsibility again. He looks at me and says, "Stay between me and the wall." He says it like he knows I won't, and he plans around that. We move through crowds that smell like hot dogs and old tension. A man in a navy cap sits in the agreed-upon seat and doesn't stand for the anthem, which makes half the section hate him immediately. He looks like any man. That's the point. "You Castellano?" he asks when we slide in at the half. "You the courier?" Dante replies, one eyebrow a weapon. The man shrugs. The international sign for money makes my morals flexible. He slides a padded mailer under the seat between his feet. 50 to glance, another 100 to walk it out. "We're not paying to be blackmailed with our own evidence," Dante says, amused in the way that makes fools rearrange their priorities. The man peels open the envelope anyway, shows a ledger page like it's a dead bird he found. My eyes catch the words before the nausea does. My name in sharp print. A date circled. The day of the transfer for the surrogacy contract. A line an inch below. Contingency payout upon maternal fatality. Void if surrogate survives. Air goes thin. The noise of the crowd swells like a wave swallowing a beach. I don't look away. If the past wants me to flinch, it can starve. Dante doesn't move, but the temperature changes. "You sold this yet?" he asks mildly. "Highest bidder," the man says, trying for swagger and landing on sweaty. "If I don't walk out with 100, I walk out with a contacts number and a better idea." "You're going to walk out with neither," Dante says. "You're going to walk out with your skin." The man starts to grin, then freezes. He has noticed something the audience cannot see. 3 men who weren't there are near now. Their interest is clinical. The courier sighs like he's been called out in class. "You people ruin a good hustle." "Hustles that end in funerals are bad," Dante replies. "You're not the worst thing in this city. Don't try to be." The man tips the envelope forward. Samir's hand appears, swift and bored, and the ledger vanishes into a place where evidence goes to meet lawyers. The courier mutters, "Should have asked for 200, and evaporates into the noise. Back in the car, I hold the copy like it could bite. Rosalia meets us at the apartment in joggers and pearls because she's that person. She skims the pages and makes a sound like a cat who found a toy too sharp. "This is helpful," she says, already dialing. "Helpful?" I echo, incredulous. "It proves coercion," she replies. "It proves conspiracy. It proves intent. It's the one thing defense attorneys hate. A paper trail written by morons who think they're smart. Sometimes justice is not a symphony. Sometimes it's a kazoo in a courtroom and you cheer anyway. That night, after the twins are down and the apartment smells like soap and tired happiness, we sit on the couch with the ledger between us like a past we autopsied. He flips a page and stops at a line that tightens his mouth. Santoro. A date. A note in Marco's scrawl. Contingency on D. On D, I say softly. On Dante, he says. On me. He runs a thumb down the margin and doesn't speak for a breath. "We're going to burn this," he says finally. Not literally. In court, in the papers, in the Santoro's memory. I'm going to be done. Done, I ask? The kind of done you talk about and fail at, or the kind you build a scaffold for? Done with owing anything to anyone who lives off fear, he says. Done with the version of me that thought winning was keeping score in blood. How? By paying what I owe, he says. By giving back what the company laundered through. By testifying to what I know without naming what puts innocent people in crosshairs. By making sure my exit leaves a hole no one fills. By letting me stand next to you, I add. He looks at me, and the look is a weight I want. Always. The misdirect arrives 2 days before the hearing where that ledger will sing. It's a box on the threshold with a florist's bow and a card that says, "From a friend." Inside, a baby blanket the exact shade of our son's eyes and a rattle carved with our daughter's initial. It looks like love. It smells like lavender. Tucked in the folds, there's a strip of paper soaked in something nearly scentless. The dog, the one Samir asked us to allow even though I said no to fur and yes to peace, sneezes so violently his back legs lift. He whines and paws at the air. "Stop," I say, and the word carries the weight of all the times I didn't and should have. "Don't touch it." Samir arrives in seconds and lifts the strip with tongs into a bag. "Chloroform cousin," he says, expression grim. Somebody wants to make headlines again. The camera in the corridor catches the delivery. A woman in a hooded sweatshirt, head down, pushing a stroller with no baby. She parks the stroller by our door and riffles under the blanket to leave the gift. She glances up once. The camera catches a jawline I know, a mouth shaped by spite. "She got someone to pass her a wig and a hoodie," Samir says when we freeze frame. "Slipped her tether just long enough to bless you." Rosalia files so fast the air burns. The judge tightens the tether and adds a charge that makes the courtroom gasp later when it's read. Attempted kidnapping. It had been an attempt, even if the plan would never have worked. The judge makes eye contact with me as if to say, "No more." I sleep with the twins' door open and my eyes on the hall. He sleeps with one hand on my hip and the other on the drawer where he keeps a thing he never uses. The morning feels like a clean sheet. The hearing is crowded. Santoro men sit like shadows, there to see which way the wind blows. Men in suits who still prefer their crimes to smell like ink, not blood, watch like investors. Vivian sits at the defense table like a woman who thinks the camera loves her because it has no choice. Marco doesn't look up when we walk in because men like him only track threats they can't charm. Rosalia calls the ledger a road. "Map?" And the judge nods like she's driven those roads too long and would like to go home. Dante testifies about the money without painting himself a saint. He is careful, precise. He names what he did and what he stopped doing. He names the years he carried debt that wasn't numbers. He names the men he won't name because they have children who learned what no means at one, and he wants them to use it. The defense tries a live grenade. "Is it true you were involved with organized crime?" And Rosalia smiles with all her teeth. "Asked and answered," she says before the judge can. The judge says it anyway, my turn. I stand with knees that remember marble tile, and lungs that remember pennyroyal. I speak. I hold the ledger page up. I read the line about maternal fatality on delivery. The room makes a sound. I don't look at her. I don't give her my face. I give the court my words. After, in a corridor that smells like sweat and what passes for justice, a Santoro cousin with a face like a young god approaches Dante with careful hands. "Respect," he says. "You're brave or stupid?" "Both," Dante says. "One for me, one for my wife," the cousin nods at me. "We won't come for you," he says. "Not because of fear, because you took your power back in public. That has rules too. It's not absolution. It's context. It helps me sleep anyway." We walk home in a wind that carries hints of summer and leftover winter. The twins are with Gianni, who has developed a philosophy about naps he shares with anyone who stands still. He looks up when we come in and tilts his head. "You look lighter," he says. "Ledger light," I reply. Paper is heavy until it burns. That night, the apartment is quiet in the way of a house that earned it. We sit on the floor with the twins and build a tower out of blocks with letters that don't spell anything yet. Our daughter knocks it down and claps, delighted with chaos. Our son looks offended on behalf of architecture. "Again," he says, the second word that will shape his life. We stack. We fail. We laugh. We stack again. In the months after, life learns a new shape. The new building opens to a lobby full of plants that feel like a forest in a city of concrete. A plaque on the wall reads Castellano in a font that won't age badly. He speaks at the ribbon cutting and thanks the unions and the tenants and me in a paragraph he didn't show me first because he wanted the surprise to be real. Reporters ask questions about a ledger and a past and a trial, and he answers what needs answers and refuses what doesn't. Boundaries. No. Again. We move into a brownstone with a yard the size of a postage stamp and a pear tree that leans over the fence like a neighbor with gossip. He installs a swing under it because he keeps promises that sound like illustrations. The twins take turns and argue about whose turn is forever. Mama sits on the stoop with a blanket over her knees like an old queen. Johnny grills on a tiny legal grill and yells at the smoke for disobeying. One night in June, I sit on the back steps in a dress that cost half a textbook and watch the sky turn pink like embarrassment and grace. He comes out with 2 mugs and sits beside me so our shoulders touch in a shape we made new. "Do you remember the first time you saw me?" I ask. "In the laundry room," he says. He doesn't pretend it was a fairy tale. "You were cold. I was colder. And now?" "I'm warm," he says, simple as breathing. "Because you are." I look at the swing. It moves a little in the breeze like a pendulum that measures a kinder time. I think about the girl on the floor with the dryer thumping like a heartbeat. I think about the woman in a courtroom holding a ledger like an end and making it a beginning. I think about the way love, when it's right, doesn't fix you so much as give you a place to be broken and not be punished for it. He takes my hand and places it over his heart. "There's something else," he says, a note tucked under the sentence. "What?" "Rosalia wants to start a fund," he says, "for women who were coerced into contracts that turned their bodies into paperwork. Legal aid, medical, exit plans. She asked if you'd chair it. The old fear twitches, visibility, target, the way the world eats women who refuse to be quiet. The new courage sits up. We'll do it, I say. But it won't have my name on it alone. It will have the names of every woman who changed her story and all the ones who haven't yet." He squeezes my fingers. "We'll do it," he echoes. Not because he has to, but because he wants to. Later, when the twins are down and the house is clean enough that I can think, we go to bed early because we're tired in that good way that means you built something and it stood. He drags his mouth along my shoulder in a kiss that says thank you and please and more. We don't need the candles tonight. We don't need the choreography. We need the press of skin to skin and the knowledge that we earned this and we won't apologize for how much it heals. "Are you happy?" he asks into the space between my breaths. "Yes," I say, deliriously. "Me too," he murmurs. "Always." We fall asleep with the window cracked to the sound of the city deciding to be gentle for an hour. The moon sits on the sill with her shawl and keeps watch. The first gala of the fund arrives with the kind of irony that would have made the old me flinch. The hotel ballroom gleams the way ballrooms do when bad men need an excuse to think they're good, and good men need instructions. Our guest list is different. Social workers and nurses and lawyers with student. Loans drink cocktails next to women whose eyes look like mine did when I signed a contract. With my hands shaking, I wear a simple black dress and comfortable shoes because survival taught me that. Blisters are not a virtue. He wears a suit that looks like he fought a tiger to get it and apologized to the tiger after. We stand on a stage we paid for. I look at the microphone and feel the old urge to shrink. I do not. I step into the light. I used to clean rooms like this, I begin. The crowd hushes. I slept on a floor like the one outside the kitchen door. I signed a contract that told me my life was a number, and someone else's reputation was a god. I am here because I got lucky, and because someone decided to be better. I am here because love is not therapy, but it gave me the time to find the therapist I needed. We built this fund so luck is not the only plan. I tell them about legal aid. I tell them about exit plans and locks. I tell them about pediatricians who don't ask the wrong questions, and judges who learn new words. I do not say names. I say truths. The room breathes and lets some go. He watches me like a man who nearly missed this, and will spend the rest of his life counting that as his greatest escape. When I step off the stage, he takes my hand and kisses the inside of my wrist because he can, and because it's holy. We dance to an old song. He is better at this than I expected. You took lessons, I murmur. I took cues, he says into my hair. From you. At midnight, we leave early because our lives are young, and our kids wake with the sun. In the car, he lifts my hand and studies the ring in the passing streetlights. I used to think jewelry made a woman mine, he says. I was wrong. You were mine when you said no to dying on the floor. You were mine when you said yes to living here. The ring just tells other people what I already knew. Possessive, I tease. Because he is, and I love it when it sounds like devotion instead of ownership. Devoted, he corrects. Because he is that too. We make it to the brownstone and stumble into the living room with our shoes in our hands like teenagers. The sitter, Gianni's niece, whose eyebrows could command dragons, salutes us with a silent thumbs up. They didn't mutiny, she whispers. We pay her too much. She takes it with the dignity of a young woman who knows her worth. In our bedroom, I set the ring in the dish by the lamp with the click that feels like punctuation. He watches me, eyes dark and soft. What? I ask. Every time you take it off, he says. You still look like you belong to me. Because I do, I say. And that truth hits both of us in the pieces we used to think we had to hide. We undress with the unhurried ease of people who know the ending and still love the middle. He looks at me like I'm a landscape he hiked for months and still finds new streams in. I touch him like a map I made myself. When we come together, it's slow and deep, like our bodies are learning a new language for an old vow. Consent is not a formality. It's a path we walk hand in hand. Motion is a rhythm we found and keep finding. Climax feels like a cord held too long and released right on time. After, he wipes a tear I didn't know fell and whispers, protection, with the smirk of a man who would buy the pharmacy to make me feel safe. I laugh into his mouth. We fall asleep tangled, proof that worship can live in daily life and not burn out. On a morning a year later, the pear tree drops its first fruit into the grass with a soft thud that sounds like an ending and a beginning. The twins thunder down the hall with feet that will someday be big enough to leave and return. We're planning a ceremony next month that isn't City Hall. A backyard, a string of lights, a cake that will lean. Mama will dance because she can. Johnny will cry because he pretends not to. I wake on a pillow that remembers me. He brings coffee like it's a covenant. They're plotting again, he says, faux serious. I saw them dragging a stool to the counter. There too, I reply. What could they plot? Revolution, he says. They have your intelligence and my stubbornness. We're doomed. The twins barrel in. She shouts my name like a battle cry. He shouts, Papa! Like victory. We fold them into the bed and it becomes a boat on a sea of laughter. Someone kicks me. Someone kisses my nose. He kisses my mouth over their heads and the world makes sense again. You ever think about what would have happened if you hadn't gone to the laundry room that night? I ask later, when the house is quiet for 10 miraculous minutes. I would have kept sleeping, he says, eyes on the ceiling like he sees the man who did, and I would have kept mistaking silence for peace. I'm grateful to every noise you made, even the crying, especially the crying. We lie there and listen to the house breathe. Contentment isn't a plot twist. It's the result of 1,000 small choices made in daylight. It doesn't make a logline. It makes a life. The fun grows. We go to court sometimes and sit behind women who hold hands and tissues and bet on themselves. We go to hospitals and donate blankets that smell like lavender but are not laced with harm. We add a wing to a shelter with rooms where the locks are on the inside. I study in shadow and learn to ask questions that open people instead of closing them. He signs papers and opens doors and raises our children to know that love is verbs. We go back to the penthouse once, a year after we left. The board wants to sell, the market thinks it's a trophy, and we make a choice. The elevator doors open to a view that used to mock me. The air remembers her perfume the way rooms remember songs you hated, but danced to anyway. I walk through every room and the house stays a house. Someone will live here, I say, and they won't know anything but the view. Let's make them luckier, he says. We take a portion of the proceeds and write it into the fund. We turn a weapon into a shield. It's not redemption, it's math. On the twins' second birthday, they blow out candles with spit and enthusiasm. We clap like we saw magic because we did. Mama raises her plastic cup of Prosecco and says, "To Aria, who was always too stubborn to sleep on floors. To Dante, who learned to sleep like a man who knows he's forgiven." He toasts back, eyes on me. To the woman who said yes to the hardest version of love and made it the best one. Later, when the night is a soft thing and the yard has confetti in it like stars we threw down, we sit on the stoop with our knees touching and our shoulders making a roof. "What do you want next?" he asks. "Residency," I say, the word like a mountain I want to climb. A clinic with hours that don't punish single parents. A system that lets nurses go home before the moon has to carry them. "You?" "A company that doesn't need my face on it," he says. "A son who knows his hands are for building. A daughter who knows no is a sentence." We are quiet for a while. The pear tree drops another fruit. The city hums like a chorus we finally learned the harmony to. I think back to a sentence that started this story like a dare. I'm the maid she made sleep on the floor. It was never the whole of me. It was a season. It was a crucible. It was a line item on a ledger someone wrote with bad intentions, and I crossed it out with a life. Now, I sleep in her bed with him. But it's not hers. It never was. It's ours. It's the place where worship is daily and desire is tender and vows are acted, not recited. It's where two babies learn to say no and then yes and then again. It's where I wrote a new story with the same hand that once shook. Steady now, capable, precise. And when the night presses colder than it should, when old fears test the locks, I walk to the nursery and put my hand on each small back and count the breaths. I step into the doorway and stand there a minute, just to make sure nothing ugly gets through. Then I go back to our bed, and he reaches for me in his sleep, because he knows what the dark used to teach, and what we taught it instead. We made our own ending. We earned it. We keep earning it. The moon approves.